Evening, you lot, and welcome to this week's Mostly Arsenal. Loads to talk about tonight, and as you can tell from my cheerful demeanour, I'm still absolutely buzzing about last night's game. So we're going to get into that. There's quite a bit to talk about from last night's game and other stuff. All things Arsenal and some random life stuff as well. So before we get into that, just like to say, if you like this, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you can, because it all helps. It all helps and makes me feel good about what I'm doing as well. So yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated if you could do that. Right, last night's game. Now, I have like a pre-match ritual that I do. I'm super superstitious, really superstitious, and I have a way that I do things like an hour before kick-off. I put a black long sleeve top on, and I put an Arsenal top on top of that. I do my hair, trim my beard, and these are things that I've done for a good couple of years now, and I'll stick with that. I've got a variety of shirts that I wear. I was going with my Rocky 7 shirt. I put that on for the North London derby, and it seemed to work. And then obviously it didn't work against Brighton, didn't work against Crystal Palace. I thought I'd change it up. So I put my old ESR top on last night, and that seemed to do the trick. It's stupid that I do this, because I know it has absolutely no bearing in all reality on the performance or the game or the result, but I'll do it. So yeah, I'm just a bit weird, like I suppose. But I have these superstitions, and maybe it's I don't know. I believe like fate and stuff like that. I'm not the most scientific brain person in the world, so that's why I do things like that. But yeah, I changed it up for that shirt you can see over my shoulder last night, and it done the trick. So that will definitely be worn for the next game. Before the game, I watched the games out in the conservatory where I am now, because the missus and kids, they don't need to sit there listening to me shouting and screaming at the television. But my youngest Dempsey, she was out here, and she asked if I was getting ready for the game, so I said yeah. And she asked me a really good question. She said, "Daddy, why is it that you get really happy when Arsenal win, but really sad when they lose?" And to try to explain it to a 9-year-old child, it was really quite difficult. I've had this conversation with a few people over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, I suppose. Why we are, or why we do what we do, why we support the club we support. And to explain to my daughter, it was, I was just trying to say to her that it's something that's always been there ever since I was a kid. I've always been like this about Arsenal, and it's always been there. But going probably a bit beyond what I could feasibly explain to her at this point in her life, it now feels like an extended family. Since I got into Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that, I've become part of this. And the good thing about social media is you can choose your community to a certain extent. You can choose who you interact with, and I've become part of this this really nice community where people do the same stuff that I do. Granted, most of them do it way better than I do. Excuse me. But it's something I really love doing, something I really love being a part of. And there are, the people who I interact with now, I've come close to over our shared love of Arsenal. These are people I truly hope that I'm mates with, like, forever. Hopefully it'll never ever change. So that's what I probably would have said to her if I'd had the time to think about the question. But yeah, it's like an extended family, which helps in my love of Arsenal Football Club. One of the other things I was thinking about is quite often when you meet another gooner who you've never really spoken to before, one of the first questions you ask each other invariably is, "Are you Arteta in or Arteta out?" And I've always mostly been. I like to say that I'm a little bit on the fence, and I haven't really made my mind up. I think essentially deep down, I've always been Arteta in, and there have been times when I've wavered, and I've said this before on previous videos. I've said it to other people in conversations. I've wavered on the odd occasion, like first leg against Villarreal last season. I've wavered massively there. I kind of wavered a bit the last 2 games as well. I think because I could feel the pressure was really, really on. And when you look at our first 3 games of the season, there wasn't really any pressure. Chelsea, Man City, we weren't expected to get much joy out of that. Yeah, we were expected to get a result against Brentford, but that was their first game in the Premier League at a new stadium that they'd never had a full house before, and that place has become a fortress. They drew 3-3 Liverpool. They're not mugs, and they'll probably end up doing all right for themselves this season. They're a very good side. But then when you look at the games we've had recently after the North London derby, Brighton away, Crystal Palace at home, Aston Villa at home, these are games that we're expected to get some joy out of. And we've now got coming up Leicester, then Liverpool, Man United. So the game last night was one we really, really needed to win, and we needed to put a performance in. And I felt like the pressure was really, really on him last night. And I was feeling exceptionally nervous, more nervous than normal about last night's game. But I think what I'm trying to say, what I really, really hope for is that there will come a point within this fan base where we're not asking each other that question, or we're not defining another Gooner by whether they're Arsenal in or Arteta in or Arteta out. It probably will never happen, because there always comes a point. Look at Arsene Wenger's reign. The guy was unbelievable, but there was a point at the end where, are you Wenger in or are you Wenger out? So it probably will always be there. But one of my dreams is that there'll come a point where that's not even a thing. And to see one Arsenal supporter calling out and abusing another Arsenal supporter on social media just because of whether they believe in the process or not, that's just it's ridiculous. And I've got no time for it. We've all got our opinions. We've all hopefully seen good and bad times. Some of us have seen more bad than others. So we need to be patient. And in all reality, if we were to get up anywhere near the top 6 this season, I would call that success. I would call that progress. I don't for 1 second expect us to get top 4. I don't think we're going to be consistent enough with the average age of the squad. But looking at how we played last night for the 90 minutes, the first half against Spurs, we should be good enough to get somewhere close to the top 6. It's entirely going to depend on our consistency. But as I said, I'm realistic enough to realise that we're not going to have a huge amount of consistency this season. And not only because of the age of the squad. We brought 6 players in the summer. Everyone made a huge fuss about how much money we spent. But every single one of those new signings, Aaron Ramsdale, Takahiro Tomiyasu, Benjamin White, Nuno Tavares, Albert Sambi Lokonga, and Martin Odegaard, they've all done well. Odegaard struggled a bit the last couple of games, but I've been impressed with all of them, and I've got to sit here and hold my hands up, because I was the same as lots of other Gooners in the summer. I was casting disparaging comments about Arteta and Edu's recruitment process. Granted, they didn't really manage to get rid of a lot of the players that we wanted to see gone, but you can't sell something that's unsaleable, and you don't want to have your pants took down over the prices. But the guys they brought in, all young, and have all done exceptionally well. So I just want to go on record, hold my hands up, and say, early signs I might have been wrong on that. But anyway, moving on to last night's game. Obviously, the first person I want to talk about is Emile Smith-Rowe. Now, this is not me jumping on the bandwagon, and I wasn't sure if he'd get man of the match or not, but when I go back to Boxing Day last season, the game against Chelsea, when he first came on the scene, I saw something. I saw something change, and I'll explain a little bit. Like this kid, Emil, I know you watch this show quite a lot, so just want to say, love you, bro. What I see in Emil Smith Rowe is what I saw in myself as a kid when I was playing football on the playground, or Sunday afternoons when I was, a very young teenager. He just loves playing. He loves getting the ball. He loves getting forward. And I don't mean that to sound like he's a greedy player who's only out for himself, because he's not. He's such a massive influence on this team. You look at how hard he works for the team, the tackles he puts in. But when I saw him come in against Chelsea, and before that, our midfield was essentially Granit Xhaka and Mo Elneny, and they just weren't moving the ball forward fast enough. It was almost like they had no confidence. They were scared of going forwards with it. So you just, you play the safe options. Then all of a sudden, this 20-year-old kid comes in. It's like, right, give me the ball. I'm going to get at him. And that's exactly what he did. And he was my vote for player of the season last season. I know Bukayo Saka got it. And, that's probably right, essentially. But the reason that Emil Smith Rowe was my choice was because I thought he changed the identity of the team last season, and he's continuing to do so. He's like, I watched Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher talking about him last night. Now, Jamie Carragher, I don't know if someone's had a word with him, but I remember him actually outright laughing as a co-commentator when Brentford got their second against us first game of the season. Weirdly, another Friday night game. And now all of a sudden he's saying nice things about Arsenal. I noticed that he was interviewing 3 Gooners before the game in the Marble Halls, and maybe they changed his mind a little bit. I don't know what his issue was, but he was more open and more positive about Arsenal, as was Gary Neville, and they were both saying the same things about Emil Smith Rowe that lots of us have been saying for a long, long time. But it helps. He is one of our own. He's Hale End, and the kid's obviously a Gooner. And he's actually come out on record and said that he wants to be at Arsenal for his entire career. Now, if he manages to do that, that's legendary status. And I've got so much love for this kid. I haven't had a favourite player probably since Dennis. And before that, it was Rocky. I'm really quite selective. If I go, right, you are my favourite player, I'm entirely invested in you. But, this kid here, finger right, he is I think he's the future of this club, along with Bukayo Saka. But Bukayo Saka, hopefully he's going to stay forever as well. He's the one that gets headlines, and he will be the one who's getting, your big, huge clubs coming after, your Real Madrid, Barcelona's, and the rest of them. Hopefully he won't ever have his head turned, but potentially I just think that Emil Smith Rowe, he's my guy, and I thought it was interesting that there were 3 players on the pitch last night whose Christian names start with EMI. One of them is Martinez, one of them is Buendia, one of them is Smith Rowe, and one of them was an absolute fucking country mile ahead of the other 2 put together. And I absolutely love to see that, especially when they had the audacity to offer 25 million for him in the summer. And I said in a tweet earlier, wouldn't even buy on his feet, to be honest. Just get over yourselves. Not a chance is he going there. And it goes on to this so-called rivalry with Aston Villa. There is no rivalry. We're not local. We do have a lot in common in that both clubs have got a lot of history. But it ends there. It's almost like the Villa fans have this thing, because Martin is always constantly banging on about us. So maybe they got the they feel a little bit like a rebound or something. And, if he was prepared to stop and fight for his spot as number 1, he'd probably still be here. But thankfully he's not, because we've got Rambo now. I'll call him Rambo, because that really, really seems to suit him. And I think potentially of all of our summer signings, he's the one who's impressed me the most. and I was initially reticent about us signing him. I didn't really know a lot about him, and I said things without properly educating myself, I suppose. But he's been an absolute revelation. The A lot of it is his personality and his character. And you saw when they scored last night, he was absolutely fucking fuming, and he flew out. And you could see how much it hurt him that we defended so badly. When we succeed defensively, he's out, he's chest bumping, he's fist bumping everyone, and he's cajoling everyone, he's getting them going. But that's only a small part of his game. When you look at Bernd Leno, great shot stopper, but that's kind of all there is. Like, Aaron Ramsdale is already a really, really good shot stopper, but he commands his box, his distribution is brilliant, his communication is brilliant. And that 30-yard ball that he pinged out to the right wing last night in the second half, can't remember who it went to, whether it was Saka or Tommy, but that wasn't like a goalkeeper's clearance. That was like a 30-yard knuckleball. That went straight as a die, and that was probably pass of the night. I absolutely love the kid. He's another one. He's made a huge, huge difference. And he did divide the fan base to a certain extent. Some people were absolutely brutal with the stuff they said about him. But I've got nothing but love for him now. Like I say, I hold my hands up. I didn't know enough about him when he first came along. But I'm a huge, huge fan. And going back to ESR briefly, he is one of the few players in our squad that doesn't divide the fan base. There's literally, there's no conversation to be had. The same as Bukayo. It probably helps that they're local lads and they've come through the ranks. And the song is one of our own, and that's exactly what he is. Moving on, Nuno Tavares. Super impressed with him last night. When I heard KT weren't playing, I was like, oh shit. With their counter attack, and we could be in trouble, because I haven't really seen much of Nuno. Fleeting performances. We all know how rapidly quick he is, and I think he was a really, really excellent understudy for KT last night. I'm certainly not going to draw any comparisons between the two of them yet, because I didn't really see enough of Nuno defensively to even make that comparison. KT is great going forwards, but Nuno's just got that extra bit of pace. I mean, he was going past their back four with ease, with absolute ease. He's almost like an Olympic sprinter. He's so fast. His delivery in was brilliant. Like I said, I didn't really see him defend very much, but one thing that does please me, firstly, we went 4-4-2 last night. Been calling for this for ages, and it was lovely to see it. But if we do decide to go with three central defenders, then it's kind of a no-brainer. It's got to be Benjamin White, Gabriel, KT, and then you've got the outlet in Nuno on the left and Tommy on the right. I'll say personally, I'm more than happy to stick with 4-4-2. But if the need arises to go 3/5 at the back, it seems like we've got the players in place. Maybe that was Mikel Arteta's plan all along. It was nice to see him saying that the performance last night was pretty close to what he wants to see all the time. For the first time, I'm seeing an identity to the way he wants us to play football, and I'm feeling really, really optimistic after hearing what he said and seeing that performance. I think the performance more than the actual result. To see us, we worked so hard. There was so much intensity. There was so much drive. Everything was done with a high tempo. And whenever we lost the ball, like when I was a kid, I was told, you lose the ball, you work double hard to make sure you get it back, or at least influence it to get the ball back. And we were winning it back within 3, 4, 5 seconds every time last night. And that's what I want to see. These are my minimum requirements, and I've said this before on previous videos. If anyone hasn't seen it before, we all accept that the lads that go out and perform for our club, they're incredibly talented footballers. But my minimum requirements are I want to see all of them play with the same amount of passion that I sit here watching the game with, and I accept that everyone has bad games from time to time. Your touch is off, your pass goes off, or your confidence levels can drop if you're having a particularly bad night. But my minimum requirement is that you put in as much effort as you possibly can. You don't leave anything on the pitch, and even if you're having a bad night, you up your work rate, and you play with passion, you play with desire. You want to get that ball forward as quickly as possible. And I saw that last night, not just for a first half like against the other lot down the road, but for the entire game. And yeah, players got tired, which, it happens. Laka went off after 60 odd minutes, but, that was his first start. And he was experienced and realistic enough to know that, he was done. You need to get someone else on for the good of the team. And I'm not getting carried away by last night's game, because I understand, like I said, there will be inconsistencies with this team and this squad. But very, very optimistic after last night's game. I think if ESR hadn't got man of the match, it should have been Gabriel, because he was an absolute fucking monster last night. From that first minute when Ollie Watkins got himself booked, he was just an absolute shield. And I was so impressed with him, and I'm so impressed with how him and Benjamin White complement each other. They're obviously very different types of centre-backs, but they do complement each other exceptionally well. And if we were to go to 3 central defenders, I think that would suit probably the most influential part of Benjamin White's game. A lot's been made about his heading or his tackling, and it's kind of been blown out of proportion, because they're probably not the strongest part of his game, but they're certainly not a weak part of his game. And he, again, last night in the tackle and aerial challenges, he was absolutely brilliant. And he did show the best part of his game, if not his interceptions and his reading of the game, is bringing the ball out. Because in the first half, the speed with which he carried that ball out and turned defence into attack, and he probably went further than he should have been allowed to. And let's make no bones about it, Villa were really bad, especially in the first half, and you could have driven a bus through that middle of the park for him when he came through with the ball. But it was just the intent that he went at it with, and the pace that he went at it with as well. And he's one that I've been a big fan ever since I watched him play against us for Leeds a few years ago, and then at Brighton. And now, for us, people are saying he had a slightly rocky start. You're setting into a new team, a new club, a new part of the country, a new formation, a new footballing philosophy. That's a lot to take on board. And then he's had the pressure of everyone comparing him with, other big money central defenders. I'm just genuinely impressed. I really am. And also, I've been saying for quite a while now about having 2 up top. I don't understand why it stopped. It seems like a few years ago, European games, teams would go, they revert to 1 striker for the away games, but it was always 2 central strikers, and that all seems to have stopped, and you've got the false 9 and the rest of that shit that goes on. Excuse me. I just don't understand why it ever stopped, and I did joke yesterday that when I saw the lineup that I think Mikel Arteta had been on Twitter and YouTube last week, because there'd been a lot of clamour for going 2 up top, and it worked. To be honest with you, if I had to choose between Lacazette and Aubameyang, I would choose Lacazette anyway. He probably won't get as many goals over the course of a season if he played full 90s for 38 games, but I think he brings more to the team, and I honestly really, really hope they give the guy a contract extension. They probably won't, and you could argue that he's putting an awful lot of effort in, because he's in the shop window now. He can sign a pre-contract in January. But I want him to stay. you know, perhaps not the most sensible or popular opinion in the world, but that's what I want to see. And two up top, absolutely loved it. Sorry about that, a slight coughing fit there. Yeah, so two up top. I genuinely hope that we stick with that. And I said in a short video during the week that there seems to be trends and rotations of formations that, you know, somebody gets successful with and other teams try to copy it. You've got to work with what you've got. And it seems now that Mikel Arteta he's had this philosophy that he's wanted to put into place. It's almost like he was trying to do it too soon or without having the right personnel in place. He seems to now have them, and we saw signs of what it is that he's going for last night. And I honestly hope that includes having two strikers all the time. They don't obviously they're not going to be playing side by side. You have one sitting deeper and one further on. They can interchange, they can crisscross, and they can go from side to side. It keeps the central defenders more occupied because, again, like I said earlier in the week, defenders are too cute, they're too intelligent, they're too well coached now to be dragged out by just having your false nine or your one up top and two wider men coming off them. They're not going to be pulled out, or very rarely they're going to be pulled out. And if they are, they're making a mistake. They read the game so well. So why not just have two up top to keep those central defenders occupied and everyone else work around them? That's what I hope for anyway. That's about it football wise. I do need to say I won't be doing a video next weekend because I'm busy Friday night, and on Saturday the missus and I are driving our eldest down to Falmouth University. We live in Northamptonshire, so it's a bit of a trek, and we're taking her down in the morning for an open day and driving back on the same day. We were going to stop in a hotel, but it's Halloween the next day, and you know, it's trick or treating and stuff. And we got to get them sweets. So next Saturday's going to be pretty full on. So I won't be posting anything Saturday evening. I may well do a little impromptu something during the week if I get the chance. You know, there's the Leeds game midweek as well, so I may well jump on and have a few bits to say about that. Other than that, I've just had a busy weekend. Tomorrow I'm taking the little two to the skate park in the morning. We've embraced skateboarding since the first lockdown. I don't know if anyone remembers, or anyone with kids. There was a couple where the schools were locked down. The second one, it was all very structured, and you know, everyone was doing lessons on Teams and stuff. But the first one weren't structured at all, and I changed my shift pattern so me and the missus could carry on working. We were both fortunate enough that we carried on working through the lockdowns. But I changed my shift so I spent mostly the early part of the days with the kids, and the little two, Willow, our 11-year-old, we bought her a skateboard for her birthday. And I decided that the things that they would learn were construction skills and teamworking by all of us playing Minecraft the early part of the day. And then after that, we'd go to the skate park. And obviously, Willow's got a skateboard, so I wanted to have a go on it. So I did. And do you know what? I really fucking enjoyed it. It was brilliant. So what I need to show you now is, this is something that I bought last summer. That is my very own longboard. And I absolutely love this. And it's not something I ever really got into as a kid. It was always just about football. But I wish I'd done. Because I bought that, and I basically, through watching YouTube videos and falling on my arse and my elbows and my head fucking loads of times, I taught myself to longboard. The difference is, if you don't know, like a normal skateboard, you do stunts and all that. So I'm not stupid. I'm 48 years old. I'm not going to start popping ollies off fucking railings and shit like that. but I really like using the longboard because it's just, you just cruise around on it. That's really, it's just a nice freeing feeling. So one of my greatest accomplishments in my life so far is at the age of 47, I taught myself to longboard, and I'm well happy with that. So yeah, we're going to do that tomorrow morning, and then after that, I'm doing a Sunday roast because according to the kids, I'm actually a domestic goddess. That's what they've named me now. It's like, Daddy, you are the domestic goddess. So I'll be doing a nice little roast tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully get that all done in time to watch the Liverpool Man United game. Because if you'll notice, there's been a shitload of goals gone in the Premier League this weekend. And Liverpool are the only unbeaten team. And we know what this means, and we can't let this happen. Obviously, I don't want them to lose tomorrow against Man United, but they've got to lose at some point, hopefully against us in a few weeks. But yeah, I'll probably sit down and have a look at that. But that's about me done. So I'm going to sign off now because I just downloaded Pro Evo on the Xbox. I haven't played it yet, so I'm going to go and do that. All that's left to say is if you enjoyed this, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I think I've got 65 subscribers so far. So yeah, if we can bump that up, it'd be great. It's not something I've ever been truly obsessed with, but it would be awesome if I could like hit 100 or something. That'd do me. I'd die a happy man. Anyway, till next time, be good, look after yourselves, and catch you soon. Ta-da.